Hey y'all, welcome to the Let's Be Real podcast with Taylor Jones. Today I have my husband on the podcast.
The best husband.
Okay, the best husband, we can go with that. And yeah, I just wanted to have him on my first one just so we could talk a little bit about what life has been like and yeah, just catch up from the last podcast I had.
It's been a little bit.
It's been a little bit. So to start out, I'm basically going to ask the same question that I asked over my last podcast. So what's a piece of advice, I guess another one, that you've gotten that has impacted you that could impact someone else?
So this piece of advice is actually from my twin brother, Cody. He like lives by this. Take one day at a time in life. The life you want is made up of a bunch of little habits.
That's good.
Yeah, it is good. And it's hard for me to take one day at a time, but that's something that he's really well. He does that really well, and he talks about habits all the time. Being miserable is a habit. Being happy is a habit. Talking about Jesus is a habit. What you think about is a habit. And the good thing is habits are a choice, and you get to choose your habits. So really you get to choose, for the most part, how your life is. A bunch of little habits.
Yeah. That's so good. I love that. And I love Cody. He's like he's so complex, but he's also so simple. Like everything he does is just like, he's like, this is right, this is wrong, and I'm just going to go with that. And I love that.
Simple guy.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best way to live your life is to it's not, everything's black and white. Like, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really important too to have like good habits. Like me and you have been trying to focus on that a lot. Like we're trying to eat better just so we're healthier. And we're trying to consistently work out, not just to look healthier, but to feel healthier. And so I think that's really good.
And get up early and little things. Like
that's
going
great.
to church, your little habits make your life.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Whenever we had Carter, the habits were, I guess the lifestyle was kind of all over the place. So that is something that I'm really grateful now that Carter's like 4 or 5 months old.
Learning as we go.
Yeah, we kind of have a more clear lifestyle now. So that's great. I also wanted to talk about since my last podcast, we have started our careers, me as a nurse and Jake as a teacher. And so I kind of wanted us to talk a little bit about that. So I guess, Jake, you can start. Like, what is some struggles you have faced since you started your career?
Something that I've struggled with is time management and kind of like a work-life balance. Starting a new career, starting anything new is hard. And I'm learning that it's okay not to be perfect at a new job. Mm-hmm. It's okay to mess up. You're not going to be perfect in every situation. But I do know that I can show up to work every day with a positive, energetic attitude. I can be someone that my students and coworkers want to be around. I hope I can be somebody who will listen and give my best at work. And I don't have to be perfect. It's good knowing that I can show up. I don't always have to know the right answer. And that's something that I'm really learning as I go.
Yeah.
So, especially in my first year.
I was about to say, I think we both struggled with that a lot. And the first year of your career for both of us, we just had such high expectations for ourselves that we kind of like inevitably set ourselves up to like be disappointed, because as your first year, you're just learning. And so I think if you have too high expectations and you're learning, then you're too hard on yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think we both learned to give ourselves grace in our first year and just give it to God and just, try to have fun with it and learn, and just as we get more experiences, we'll get better. And I think that was really hard for me in my first year. Just having to take it one day at a time and have patience with myself and realize that I'm learning. It's okay. I'm not stupid just because I don't know very much. Mm-hmm. Like I'm learning and it'll get better. And I think both of us definitely like went through that in our first year. And there's a lot of things that we also love in our new careers. And so like so we talked about struggles. What's something that you've loved since starting your career?
There's so much to love about my career. This past 2 years, I've been a special ed teacher and a coach. I'm about to start year 3. I won't be coaching this next year. I'm moving schools. I'll still be teaching special ed. There's just so much to love about my job. I just find a lot of passion and purpose in my job and helping people with disabilities and influencing them and being a good role model. So that's something that I wake up and I really do feel like I have purpose in my job, and I chose the right career path, because I haven't felt like that every day in the past, going into year 3. There was a lot of days that you question your career. Mm-hmm. but it's nice to have, we've started our careers around the same time, and you've also questioned yours, but that doesn't mean you don't love your job. I think that
it's hard in that first couple years.
Yes. And I hope in 20 years we're still learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. I think both of us have like servants' hearts, and like we chose career paths where we serve people. And like, that's something that I've literally loved about being a nurse, is I genuinely get to serve people and like bring them back to health. And Jake gets to serve students and like help them not only be better in school, but also be better people individually. And so that's something that I think we've both loved. Like, I just love serving people, and I think God gave me a passion for that. And through that passion, he helped me also have a passion for nursing. And so that's something that, I don't know, I just love serving people. So that's been a great part of it. And as well as like, you're definitely, both of our careers, we're going to be learning for the rest of our lives. And so that's something we've grown to love rather than hate at the beginning. We're going to learn, and it's okay. We're all learning together. I mean, everyone's learning, just as we've just become new parents. So we're learning how to do that too. And we're taking it one day at a time. Just as Carter's learning how to be a human in this world, we're learning how to be his parents. And like, what's something that, since having Carter, that you've learned about yourself? Like, what's something you've learned, like, as a man or as a husband, or like, what has Carter taught you so far?
So there's been a lot of changes in this past 5 months of Carter's life, nearly 5 months.
Literally.
One of them, I think the main thing that I've learned is that many times it's easy to be hard on myself or hard on ourselves. But especially since becoming a dad, the best advice that I could give to young men or new dads or really anybody is, when you think negative thoughts about yourself or you're too hard on yourself, can you turn to your son or your daughter and say that to them? So why would I talk negative about myself? I wouldn't want my son to do that about himself. I wouldn't say that to my son, or if I have a daughter, to you or any of my brothers. So if I'm not going to say anything negative about them, because I don't think those things about them, why would I be so hard on myself and think negative thoughts about myself?
Oh my gosh, that's so good. We didn't even talk about that beforehand, but I definitely want to talk about that more. I think the devil tries to attack things that are good, and he tries to attack us through our thoughts a lot about ourselves. And if he feels attacked by like us being confident as a person or as a wife or a husband or, a mom or a dad, that he'll try to attack that and make you feel like you're not good enough. Mm-hmm. And I definitely like struggled with that a lot at the beginning. I mean, postpartum, you go through so much like anxiety and hormonal changes and literal physical changes. And, I mean, it's just a whole thing bringing a person into this world. I mean, no one gives you a pamphlet on how to raise a baby. And I think the devil really tries to target you when you're most vulnerable, like in those moments, and tries to make you feel like, oh, I'm not a good mom. I didn't do this enough. Am I taking care of him? Does he know that I love him enough? Like, as long as you're turning your eyes towards God and trying to steward your child up to love the Lord, like, that's literally the best you can do, just love on them as Christ has loved on us. And like, that's the biggest commandment that he's given us, is to literally love others. And so as long as we're loving our kids and trying our best, I mean, we're human, we're going to make mistakes, but the devil doesn't need to tear you down to make you feel like you're not a good mom or you're not a good dad. And that goes like for any relationship. Yes. And I kind of touched on, I guess, anxiety a little bit and postpartum and all that. And I wanted Jake to talk a little bit about just like advice to other men on how to love their spouse or partner, whatever, during pregnancy and postpartum, because I just loved how he served me. And yeah, so like, what advice would you give to like other men on how to love their partner or their spouse well, like during pregnancy and postpartum and all of those changes?
So before I move on to that, I want to say one more thing about learning from something I've learned about being a new dad, and really from Carter. So the most powerful voice and testimony that our kids are going to be around is their home. We live in a world where sin doesn't seem like sin, and bad seems good, and good seems bad. And for me, it's really to get caught up in living in fear of Carter growing up and making the wrong choices, and not having the life that God wants him to have. But I think that goes back to habits, about, fear is a habit. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of habits that are above fear. Like being a dad who prays over my kids is a good habit. At being a dad who's confident, godly confidence. a dad
Yes,
who's
godly confidence.
Yes, godly confidence. A dad who's not perfect, but can teach my kids who is, being a dad who speaks life and encouragement over them. So I could sit here and be worried about what the world is going to show Carter, or I can be confident in what I'm showing him, and what I believe is right, and that's loving the Lord. So I want to look in the mirror and see a dad who has godly confidence, and see someone who I want my kids to look up to. I don't want to look in the mirror and see insecurities and see somebody who is hard on themselves for no reason. I want to look at somebody who Carter can look up to.
I freaking love that. You're gonna make me like tear up just talking like that. Like, and you do live that out. Like you lead like me and Carter towards Jesus, and like we're able to serve each other, and we want to love each other in a way that Carter looks up to our love and like sees God through us, you know? And I can tell that I can already see the way that you love Carter, and you're such a great dad, and you serve him equally as I do. Like, you're not babysitting him ever. Like they say their dads babysit. I hate that. You do not babysit our kid. You love him as a dad, and you parent him. And I mean, he's never gonna go a day not thinking you don't love him. Like, he will always know that you love him and I love him. And I just love that. That's literally so good. I had a little man lump there. I was like, oh God.
Little man lump.
I had man lump. But yeah, like I was talking about with postpartum and everything, like what advice do you have to give other men to love their partner well in pregnancy and postpartum?
Yes. So I could talk about this subject forever. I've just learned so much about pregnancy and postpartum, which, a year ago I had no idea about any of that. I've never had a wife who was pregnant before,
Yeah, good.
So the best piece of advice that I could give on that matter is don't give your partner your leftovers. And so that means don't come home from work with nothing left in your tank. Give energy when you get home. Listen, smile, talk about their day. Ask your family what I can do for you. Really, when you get home, take the attention off yourself, even if you had a long day at work, which there is going to be long days at work. That's just how it goes sometimes. But take the attention off yourself. Your wife's body is changing
A
lot. Even after pregnancy, her body's still changing. It's healing, and I don't understand a lot about postpartum and what that feels like to happen to me, but I do understand watching what it does to another person, because I saw Taylor go through a lot of change in postpartum, and she's given so much to a new baby, and she needs somebody to care for her too. So come home from work and take care of your family.
Yeah.
Take the attention off yourself and give it to your family.
And I think too, like, you do live that. I feel like that's something, especially since having Carter, like, you want to prioritize your family. And I mean, you've always prioritized us, but I remember there was a season where it was like you were so busy literally all the time, and I was too. And we had to realize, like, okay, sometimes I need to pull the weight too.
Yes.
Not even just pregnancy, postpartum, like in marriage in general. Like, sometimes your spouse is going to come home and they don't have a full tank. And sometimes you need to pull the weight, because marriage is like 100, like, together. Like, you know what I mean? You need to be pulling the weight for each other. And sometimes I'll be coming home and I'm really exhausted, and I'm like, okay, Jake, I only got a little bit in my tank tonight. Can you help pull the weight? And yes, he can. And then I can too. And I think we've learned that I feel like we both had like rough first years in our careers, like, as in just, it's a lot to take in, and as of anyone. And we both had to realize, like, how to love each other and make sure we have enough love in our hearts when we come home, and to give the other one grace too. Like,
Yep.
It's not like a consistent thing where you're coming home and you don't have enough in your tank. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, we give each other grace, and we also, like, make up for that with each other. And I think you have to have a team, you know?
And your partner's not expecting you to come home like, hey, what's up, family? How are you? How was your day?
Yeah.
You don't have to fake it. You can be real. Just try to give it your all, and you can be tired and present at the same time.
Exactly.
And
that's so good. That's so good.
Don't just come home from work. And this is something that I've had to learn starting a career. Don't come home and just be there. Come home and be present. Lead them. You know, you're the father figure, the husband of the family. So lead your family and be there and be present.
Yeah, and I love that. And I think like a few other things that I want to touch on by like the way Jake loved me and served me during my pregnancy and postpartum was, like he said, like, I mean, I'm going through all the physical changes. Jake's not. He is going through emotional changes as well, though. And I think that I had a lot of anxiety, like with a bunch of different things postpartum, my body image and like breastfeeding and everything, like in healing, a lot of physical changes that I was really hard on myself for. And Jake would always remind me like how loved I am. And I remember like, I also like women that have the babies and everything, also tell your partners like what you need from them. Sometimes you don't know, which I didn't know sometimes what I needed from him. Sometimes I would cry randomly for no reason because my hormones were whack, y'all. But I remember, like, specifically with body image, I did struggle with that a lot. And I would tell Jake, like, hey, babe, I think I need you to tell me more words of affirmation. I think that's my specific number one love language right now that I really need because I'm not feeling I don't love my body right now or like what I look like, and I just need you to carry that way, and I need you to love me in this way because your partner can't read your mind all the time, so sometimes you do need to
not mind readers over here, come on.
Yeah, literally, especially with us women. I love us, but man. And so I loved that he constantly, like every day, he would tell me how beautiful I was, and if he ever gave me a compliment and I was like, well, he'd be like, no, take the compliment. And, just take the compliment.
Say thank you and move on.
Yeah, thank you, move on, and don't put yourself down like that. Because also, like he was saying about, you don't want your kids to speak about negatively about themselves. Well, I don't want my kids to, like, I don't want my son or my daughter, like, to look at me and hear me saying negative things about myself. Like, I want them to see, like, a mom that's confident and, may not, like, look my best, but I know that I am my best because, like, I'm trying to envision myself how God sees me, and God sees such beautiful things in each one of us. And I remember also postpartum, I struggled a lot. Like I've had anxiety honestly since my senior year of high school, but not super bad. And I remember postpartum, I had really, really bad anxiety where every single night I'd cry before it would, like when the sun would start setting. I heard that it's called the sunset scaries postpartum. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that, but I would just get super anxious about nighttime and I didn't really know what the nighttime would bring with his sleeping and my lack of sleep, and my hormones were also everywhere. And so I would just get so terribly anxious at nighttime, like really, really bad. And so Jake would have me sit down, rock Carter, and he would play Christian songs every single night for me just to help me calm down and refocus, get my eyes off me and get my eyes back on the Lord and the blessings I have, and know that I can find peace in God through all the chaos. And I just loved how he would do that. Like he would serve me in that way. And I remember specifically the song Deep Dive by, I don't know how you pronounce it. I think it's SEU or Sue Worship. Anyways, I love that song now. And every time I hear that song, I get emotional and I think about rocking Carter to sleep every night through my anxieties and knowing like Jake was there by my side, carrying me through and pointing me to the Lord. And that seriously helped my anxiety so much, and I'm past that now, and I'm super grateful for that. But there were so many struggles that we both faced, like postpartum and during pregnancy, and I'm just really grateful to have a husband that is really there for me and serves me and like builds me up and puts me as a priority, and gives me a lot of grace through all those hormonal changes, because I'm not typically a grumpy person, but you've seen me be extra grumpy, not recently, but especially those postpartum nights with the lack of sleep and everything. So yeah, I just encourage all of the men out there to really give their partners grace during that postpartum period and even pregnancy, because when I tell you it's crazy. It's a huge change, but man, is it the most beautiful thing, and just hype her up and make her feel beautiful. And yeah, I'm just really grateful for Jake and how much he's helped me. And also something that also postpartum that we struggled with was there was something postpartum that I didn't think I would struggle with specifically, was being upset about, I'd be scared that Carter would get hurt by people that had hurt me. And so I remember postpartum, there was people you'd think that, would be there for you forever, but like didn't even make me feel invisible pretty much and weren't there for me or Jake at all. And I remember I really struggled being scared that Carter would feel the hurt by them that I felt by them. And we both struggled with that, and I still struggle with that. And I can feel every day, like I remember at first I would get angry about it, and then I was like, why am I getting angry? Like I need to give Carter's life to God. Like I can't control everything, and I can't control how other people act towards me. I can't control how other people act towards Carter. And like, I just have to remember that God's on the throne, and God's the one in control of Carter's life, and he's going to direct him in the way, and he's going to love him and shield him of protection. And I can't be worried about every single little thing. And I've been praying to God also to just give me peace over that and take away sadness, like bit by bit. And I definitely think he's done that for us, and like given us, if anything, confidence in ourselves as parents and individuals. I don't think either one of us have ever felt so confident. Mm-mm. Like, would you say?
It's a good time.
Yeah, It is a good time. And so, if anyone's struggling, just feeling like people weren't there for you the way they should have been in a vulnerable time in your life, just give that to God. And I heard a phrase called "let them," and I think that's so good. And I can even add on to that and say, let them and let God. Yeah. And not only let God work in their lives, but let God work in your heart. And I think that's like been the most freeing thing ever. And just let them, do what they want. And then like let God just give you peace in your heart, and serve your family and love your family, and focus on that and focus on him.
And with the let them, let God, I think that goes both ways. With the people who you thought would want to be in your kid's life who haven't really shown any interest, also goes with let the people who want to be involved and have been awesome, let them. Let Carter be around, awesome friends and family who have showed an effort and want to be in his life.
Yeah.
So just let life happen.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's like the most freeing thing is to just like basically stop being a control freak and give it to God. Because I can definitely be like, I'm type A a little bit. I need to have that control sometimes. So you got to give that to God. And speaking of like all of that, with the like sadness of some people maybe not being there, I feel like God's built more and more desire in our hearts to build our community and to make more friends, and just like pour into other people, because I feel like me and Jake we have so much love in our hearts, like especially right now. We always do, and we always try to be positive, but especially right now we have so much love in our hearts. And I feel like God specifically has put the word community on my heart this year, and he wants me to expand my community and just ask people to be friends, ask people to hang out, and just like love on them. And because I think that's the most like powerful thing, is to give your love to someone else. And then I think that makes you love yourself more. Like that brings more happiness to your life when you're serving others and loving and being intentional with others. And I was gonna ask Jake, because I know that like we both felt like the sense of desire to have community. Like, why do you specifically think that God's put that desire like on your heart?
That's a good question. I think growing up, I've had so many brothers close to my age, and we were all, best friends growing up. Still my best friends, always will be. But we don't see each other as much because we're all adults now, and we all have our own lives. So getting us all together is kind of, it doesn't happen as much as you want as you want it to. So I've really wanted to, reach out and make friends and hang out with people, have a positive impact on other people. And me and Taylor have started going to a church this past year, the Bridge in Granbury, and we've loved it. It has such good community, and that's a good way that we found to hang out with friends is through our church friends. It's been fun so far.
Yeah. And I think like it's definitely been so great for us to like have that desire in our hearts, because I feel like God doesn't call us to do life alone. He calls us to do it like and love on others, and love your neighbor as yourself, and two are better than one. Like there's power in community, pointing each other towards the Lord. And so I just feel like God's called us to expand our community to not only like be able to pour into other people, but they can pour into us, different people in different walks of life, different seasons, different age ranges. Like there's so much power in all of that, and to be able to build I think it builds your own character by being around that. And I just remember, it reminds me of the book in the Bible. It's in Mark, and it talks about Jesus like healing a paralyzed man, and he had came to a town and it was so crowded and you could barely push through to get to Jesus, like to even see him. And there was these friends that literally carried their paralyzed friend to go see Jesus for him to heal him. Which, first off, it's like I don't even know. I can see like how selfish of a mindset you have, like when Jesus comes is in, oh my gosh, I want to get to him. I want to go see him immediately. But they literally thought about their friend, and they grabbed their paralyzed friend to take him physically to go be healed by Jesus. And they couldn't even get to him, so they literally climbed on top of the roof of the building. They dug a hole in the roof and laid him down on a mat before Jesus. They were that dedicated as friends. And there's just, like I said, there's just so much power in having a community like that literally would have your back in that way and like are that intentional with you in your life. Yep. And so like I want to have friends that have my back. Like if I'm paralyzed, please take me to the foot of Jesus.
Yeah, surround yourself with some good people.
Exactly. And we both have that desire right now. Like we're both like literally wanting to run towards Jesus and like make better our faith. And that's just kind of where we're at. And I just think, I don't know, I'm just really excited about the next chapter in the next season. And I don't know, it's been a great time recently.
Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, I'm just really excited for what we have next. And I'm really excited we got to do this podcast. Jake's been encouraging me to do it a lot lately. And did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I can just add on. We've shared a lot of positive things from the past couple of years, and we've also shared some of our struggles. And the reason we do that, the reason we get on here and we share some of our struggles is, we want people to know that we're not perfect. Nobody is, but we know who is. It's God. Mm-hmm. That's the only one who's perfect. So everybody has struggles, but everybody has weaknesses, and in your weaknesses, God can make you strong. So create good habits. Focus on the good, but don't feel like you're the only one struggling when you do struggle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's another thing powerful about community is you can be there for people and be vulnerable with them. And that's how you connect with others. Yep. And that connection is what brings you closer to Jesus too. So there's power in talking about your weaknesses and your struggles. And we both have realized that. And that makes you more vulnerable. And that vulnerability is what gets you closer to Jesus, because you're not perfect. He is. So, I'm just really grateful for being able to just have a little hobby and do this podcast with Jake, and him encouraging me so much, and just being able to share our story and hopefully touch someone today, or someone could relate. And if you ever wanted to reach out or anything, let us know. Yep. But yeah, thank y'all so much for listening.
Thanks for listening.
There'll be more episodes coming soon.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Thank y'all so much for listening to Season 2 of Let's Be Real with Taylor Jones. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and follow my Instagram at TaylorNJones_ to stay up to date with new and upcoming episodes. Thanks for listening.